the river put in at checkpoint 13, teams will be immediately confronted with a set of Class 2 rapids that they'll have to navigate with their canoe. Further downstream, teams will have to portage their boat around Etowah Falls, a 15-foot drop in the river. These Class 4 falls are not for paddling. Teams will have to portage their boat around before putting into the water again, continuing downstream. The next set of rapids will come at Castleberry Bridge, where a lot of paddlers will spill due to the technical complexity of this rapid. Folks that are inexperienced or haven't run this rapid before are likely to be found on the blooper section of the photography. Further down the Etowah, teams will encounter the tunnel. This is an old mining shaft that people from earlier times used to divert the river, lowering the water around the bend so that they could pan for gold. The tunnel is approximately 400 meters long, pitch dark, and includes some small rapids inside. Teams are allowed to bypass this section if any are uncomfortable with it. Safety crews will be ushering teams through one at a time. This is one of the really exciting features in the race. Teams will have to redirect their focus from the single track to the water. I blogged about mental exhaustion during this race, and the amount of continual focus is one of the significant factors that drains people mentally. Having just gotten off a mountain bike leg, where every twist and turn in the trail, every rock and nook and cranny is going to sap these competitors' minds, now they have to get on the water, keep their boat straight, look out for rocks and overhanging branches, and thread rapids properly. Further, the slower teams that are just making the cutoff will be traveling the latter portion of the river at nighttime. Though it's a lot calmer, it's also a lot windier, so teams will be straining their eyes to look ahead and see which way the river is bending in order to prepare their boat for the turn. Teams coming off what might be a very hot day will now be completely drenched for a period of 5 to 7 hours. Last year, early hypothermia caught up to some of the racers in the back of the pack, and no doubt the longer paddle this year will definitely chill some people's bones. Following the canoe section of the race, competitors will run down the road to Dawson Forest parking lot, which is the end of the ROC Gear Stage of the race. Teams will then unpack their gear bags, which race management has shuttled to this location, and begin to prepare for the next stage of the race, which restarts at 12 o'clock midnight. Teams will certainly use this time to replenish their bodies with food and potentially sleep. At the same time, they'll be getting instructions for the second stage of the race. They'll be required to plot points and make some advanced navigational calculations. These calculations, after a long day of racing, may prove to be quite challenging to some of the orienteers. It's at this point that the racers will get a perspective about where they are positioned in the field. The leaders will wonder if the time they built up is enough to stay ahead of the competition for Stage 2, the reality bike stage, and the trailing pack will wonder if they can make up the time they've lost on the first stage on the next stage of the race. Only time will tell as we near the reality bike stage of the Atomic Adventure Race presented by Fuji Bikes.